Hello, hi, marhaba, welcome to my channel. It's so nice to have you guys back. So for a really long time I wanted to film a video talking about my experience of getting my wisdom teeth removed. I thought I really wanted to do it when my face was all swollen and I was a chipmunk, but really I did not anticipate it to go the way that it went. And if you know, you know. I took the whole thing really lightly. So yeah, if you are about to get your wisdom teeth removed, then I recommend that you pay close attention and learn from my mistakes. So first thing first, I took the whole thing super duper lightly. I hadn't really told anyone in my family, and then when I went for a consultation to begin with, I asked them if I could come alone, and they're just like, yeah, people can come alone. I'm like, would I be able to drive home alone? And they're just like, yeah, after your surgery, you would be able to drive home alone. So me being me, I was like, okay, so if I can drive home alone, it's really not going to be a huge deal. And I also had to get all 4 of my wisdom teeth removed. So anyways, I hadn't really mentioned it to like anyone in my family properly until like a few days before. I didn't want them to stress, and also in my head it wasn't like a huge deal. And I remember the day before my surgery, I was talking to a few friends and I was telling them like, oh yeah, tomorrow I'm just gonna go get my wisdom teeth removed and we'll all be done and over or whatever. And they were just like, oh, so like, are you prepared? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, how do I have to be prepared? And they're just like, well, you're not gonna be able to eat solid food like, for a long time, and you're gonna need like yogurt and ice cream. And I was like, yeah, my mama ain't raised no beep, so I'll be fine. Everything will be fine. Don't gotta worry about it, So I really had taken it lightly, and they're just like, it really hurts. And I was like, no, they're gonna have me on laughing gas. Like, I'll be fine. I'm not gonna feel anything. Oh my God, was I wrong? So anyways, I also think that I ended up going to a place that was, where I got an experience that was very different from the norm. My whole experience was very movie-like, and it's really funny because I feel like for a lot of things in my life, I have like very extreme experiences with regards to like everything. So anyways, I went to this clinic, and by the way I found it, I had just, I Googled a place. I don't know, there's like this app called something with a Z. I forget what it's called. ZocDoc. Yeah, that's what it is. So there's like this app called ZocDoc, and basically I had just like searched up a place that would accept my insurance, and I was like, let me find one like right by my house so it's not an inconvenience at all. I really thought that I would just go get it done, and the next day I would be good to go. Everything would be back to normal. I would be up and about. Everything would be fine. I didn't do any research, nothing at all, because I was just like, standard procedure probably. So yeah, anyways, I got there the day of, and I wasn't like really afraid or like nervous or anything like that. And then, like they sat me in the chair, and then she had me like she put like the mask on my face, and they put like the laughing gas on. And it took a good minute for the laughing gas to work on me, and she kept saying like, okay, do you feel anything? And I was like, no, I don't feel anything. She's like, do you feel anything? And I was like, no. She's like, take deep breaths. And literally I was like like really just inhaling it, because I was like, low-key, I wanted to feel something too. Like I wanted to know what it felt like to be on the laughing gas, and I didn't want to feel the pain of the procedure. So at that point I kind of started to panic, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm not feeling anything. So the whole time they had like a TV playing right in front of me, and they had like the news on playing on the TV. So I remember I was just watching it, and I didn't realize, but like apparently a lot of time had passed, and I was watching it but not really watching it. And then like I realized how like the background seemed like really swirly, and then like the assistant asked me again, and she's like, are you feeling it? I was like, yeah, I think I'm feeling it now. And what's crazy is that like that was a really fun feeling, and I'm gonna just leave it at that. I really enjoyed that feeling, because I felt like I could still respond and still be in control, but at the same time I was just like, I was so relaxed, like so zen, you know what I mean? Whatever. So then the dentist came in, and they start whatever, and I expected to not feel anything, but I felt things. I felt a lot of things. I felt I don't know, I felt the needle going in, and for some reason she kept like grabbing my cheek really hard, and she would like shake it, and like it was really like painful, and I would like look at her like with these concerned eyes, and she'd be like, why are you looking at me like that? And I couldn't even talk because like my mouth was like all open, so I just had like these like big like concerned eyes like looking at her, because like, and my cheek is still bruised up. I don't know, it's probably because of the wisdom teeth being removed, or I don't know if it's because she was grabbing my cheek. I don't know why, but whatever. That whole thing was really painful. A few strange things happened, I guess. Like, so my roots were like in deep apparently, and they were curved, and it was really fascinating because at one point literally like the dentist was like over me and two hands, and she's like literally tugging like on my tooth and like pulling with all her might, and she kept saying like, oh, it's not budging. And like I was conscious like throughout the whole thing, because I remember all this, and I was literally looking at her throughout the whole thing, and she's like, it's not budging. And it was so much that they called in another assistant, and they're like, look, like it's not moving, her roots are curved. Like I was like a product of fascination for them, you know. But it was actually pretty painful. I kept thinking like she's trying to pull my brain, like my brain is about to come out of my tooth socket any minute now. Like that's what it felt like. It's very painful. So she keeps pulling, and then at one point, like I guess it's not budging, so then my tooth just shattered. Like somehow like she broke my tooth, so my tooth shattered, and like pieces, like two little pieces of my tooth went in the back of my throat, and like they're over my mouth is wide open, so I'm assuming that they saw it, and whatever. Like the dentist and the assistants are over my mouth, and all I'm hearing is like the bzz, all that stuff is going on, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna notice any minute now. And like this little piece of my tooth just keeps like going further back, and at one point I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to choke on this. So I couldn't say anything because of all the drilling. I was like, if I move, she's gonna like drill a hole right through my cheek. So then I just she's just, like basically drilling me, whatever, and I was like and then that's when they noticed. They're like, oh, is something bothering you? And I mean, like, why are you gonna ask me questions when obviously my mouth is propped open? I can't say anything, and at this point my whole face is like pretty much numb. I can't even control my face, so I was just like and I kept going like that until they finally sucked like the sucker thing down my throat, and it sucked out like the pieces of tooth, whatever, but I almost died at that point. And then for another tooth, so same thing, they're pulling, it's not coming out, so she's pulling, and I was just like looking at her, because at this point it's like painful too. I'm like clenching onto like the edge of the chair, and I was like, oh my god, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this. And then finally I hear a pop, and literally like a movie, like a cartoon, my tooth, I just see this little white thing fly across, and you hear it like lands on the floor, and she's like, that was your tooth. And they bring it up, and they're like, look at your tooth. And I just felt so concerned for myself. And basically they got done. It's pretty wild. Literally right after they got done, they lost power. And I couldn't imagine if they were like doing all the stuff in my mouth and they lost power, and I was just there like, but I was already done. And then they're like, yeah, you know, you can leave. They did like an x-ray, I think, and then they let me go. And at that point, like, the medication slowly started wearing off, and as I was leaving, they gave me my prescription too. So if you're gonna get your wisdom teeth removed, this is my recommendation. Take someone with you, be mentally prepared for pain, and while you're getting your thing done, have someone pick up your prescription, because the pain comes fast, and once it comes, you cannot control it. Like, it's so bad. So I started feeling pain, and I remember I was just in the car, and I don't know how I made it home alive, because I was just crying the whole time. But that was the worst pain. Like, it was a really, really bad pain. It was a really bad pain. And I was just like sobbing my way home. And just by coincidence, when I got home, because my mom was supposed to be at work, right? Because my mom and brother had asked me, they're just like, hey, do you want somebody to be with you? I was like, nah, I'm good, Miss Independent. I'm good. I'll be fine. Thank God. My mom, by coincidence, she was going to work late that day. She was still home, and I just came in, my whole face, like literally, my face was like this big. And it was just terrible, and I couldn't talk, and the pain was kicking in, and I just had the prescription, and my mouth was open, I couldn't close it, and I had like these like huge gauzes in, and I was like, and I was crying on top of that. It was such a mess, and I just like handed her the thing, and I was like, and then she's like, oh my God, this is really bad. And then my mom started to freak out, And then I just like kept like jabbing the prescription, and I was just like, you know, like literally I need my medicine. And then she went, but that took like another like 30-40 minutes. And by that time I was in such bad pain, like literally I was pinching my knuckles because of how I've never felt pain like that before. It was so bad. It was so bad. And somehow like God made me survive that, but I really thought that that was the day I was gonna die. And I'm not being dramatic, like really I have not felt pain like that. And even though I had medicine with me, finally I got my prescription, that pain lasted for a few days. I don't know what I was thinking before the whole thing. I don't know what. I was like, yeah, I'll just like, I probably just need to like eat ice cream once and then I'll be fine back to like pizza and my regular junk and Skittles and stuff. But this is my second week and I still can't eat solid foods, and then on top of that, your girl lacks self-control. And that was the first week of Ramadan, and granted, my whole family decides to start bringing in like these delicious foods. Chaat, samosa, and there was like Murray's in a Hurry, Meat Lovers, halal pizza. There was a lot going on at home. So on my third day, I caved and nobody was home, and I was like, nobody's gonna know if I just like take a bite of this pizza. And somehow I ate a whole pizza and I ended up tearing my stitches. Okay, so I had stitches done too. And yeah, I ended up tearing my stitches on like one side. And then that just made matters worse for myself. So yeah, my face is still bruised here. My cheeks are still like really not back to like my sulky. I'm not back to my sulky self yet. But yeah, that was my experience, guys. I hope you learned something from the lessons I had to learn the hard way. Thanks for watching. And that is all.